Let's start with a fun one. Generally, how cold was the weather in Russia?
So we were there in April, and St Petersburg was a lot colder than Moscow, just generally because it's further north. So I think it was sub-zero most evenings and during the day, so it was quite chilly. But when our customers are going in September, we are probably looking at between 10 and 20 degrees. They said it can change. So, but it was cold. We got hats.
You used the metro on your first day in St Petersburg. How easy did you find it, and how much information is written up in English?
So the metro in St Petersburg was super easy to use. There was a ticket machine on the way in. Quite handy, you could just select English when you purchased a ticket. They actually use a token system, so you pay the equivalent of about 50p, I think it was, just for a token, which basically got you a single leg on the metro, but that means you could go anywhere on the metro system. There was no limit to certain lines or districts. You could literally just go anywhere for that one token, and it was super easy to navigate. Obviously everything is in, like, as far as signposting, everything is in Russian, but it's just a case of matching up the words with whatever map you have to hand.
On the next day, you drove from St Petersburg and crossed the border into Latvia. How was it crossing the border from Russia into Latvia?
Oh god, yeah, that was a long day. The border crossing, I think James and I were both quite apprehensive, as it was kind of our first proper border crossing. Obviously we're just used to France to the UK, so it's usually quite easy. So you have got 7 stages, so we were quite apprehensive, but actually once we had done it and we knew what documents we had to present and we knew what was kind of going on, it was really quite easy. It took us about 2 hours, but they do such thorough checks, so we were kind of okay with it taking a long time because you could understand why they're doing it. So I'd say it's probably going to take longer when our customers are doing it in the summer. It'll probably take maybe, 3-4 hours, depends on how much traffic there is and what time they hit it. Obviously they're not going from Latvia to Russia, but they'll have to do a border crossing when they're going from Russia into Finland, so they will still have to do an exit sort of crossing, but it was fine. It was really easy.
Yeah.
On the third day, you then left Latvia and then crossed the border back into Russia. How did you find getting back into the country?
Yeah, so that was a great day. We got there mid-morning. The first thing we noticed is there was quite a long queue of lorries at the border, but we was prompted to just drive around them down the outside lane and just drive straight to the border. Lorries have to go through a lot more stringent checks, but we was able to drive straight up to the first booth, and once again the entire 7-stop process probably took an hour and a half, 2 hours for us, which they said is about right on average. The checks were exactly the same as the day before when we left the country, so it was just the same bit in reverse. Not many people there spoke English, but there is plenty of assistance. There's enough guidance there to help you cross the border. There was lots of signs up in English on the windows of the booths, which we were able to use, and they spoke fairly basic English, but we had a translator app as well on standby in case we needed assistance. Thankfully we didn't. And yeah, like before, it was just, they have very stringent checks. They will obviously check your car over. You have to open all the doors, the boot and everything, and they'll check everything there. They'll put a dog around the car and a mirror, but it's perfectly fine. You can understand it. All the traffic they must get in from Europe every day. But no, they were really friendly, really nice, and yeah, it was a fairly easy day, I think, wasn't it?
The following day, you drove from Velikiye Luki to Moscow. How did you find the drives through Russia? Did you need to use a sat-nav? And were the signs and speed signs self-explanatory?
So the drive through Russia were pretty much straightforward. The roads were fantastic. I'd say a lot better than our roads over in the UK. I think a lot of our customers were concerned about the quality of the roads. There were a few potholes, but then they've just finished their winter. But I would say 99% of the roads were completely fine, considering we did miles stretching over 1,000 miles in 6 days.
Yeah. We
came across the roads being fantastic. In terms of speed signs, that's one thing that obviously in the UK we're used to a lot of repeater signs and stuff, which they don't have a lot of times. They won't even have a speed sign saying that the speed has changed. So just remember, it's 60 kilometres in built up areas, 90 on the main roads, and then it is 110 on the expressways. So it's just remembering when you start hitting up built up areas that you need to slow down, and they are quite hot. There's a lot of speed cameras, there's a lot of police everywhere, so they are very hot. So just make sure that you're paying attention, that obviously you're in kilometres per hour, not miles per hour. In terms of the sat nav, like, we use, I think it was maps.me, which was the recommended offline sat nav from the Russian Tourist Board, and that worked perfectly. We had absolutely no problems with the roads at all. Everything went smoothly.
Final question. What was the highlight of your tour through Russia?
It's hard to pin down one highlight. I enjoyed the entire trip, even just the simple things like crossing the border when you saw a bit of no man's land. I was getting really excited about, because you could clearly see the border stretched on for miles. But the highlight was definitely for me would be Moscow itself. And when we arrived in central Moscow, the hotel that us and our clients are using is literally within walking distance of the Red Square, which is obviously fantastic and amazing. The Moscow metro as well, being something I've wanted to see for years, does not disappoint. It's a museum in itself.
Yeah, like James said, Moscow was amazing, but our first stop was St Petersburg, and that, I think both of us were just blown away. We went up to the main sort of palace square where you've got the Winter Palace, and the architecture was just absolutely stunning. Obviously it was a lot colder than Moscow, so I think we were so busy freezing we didn't get to see as much as we probably would have done. But we had like the church on spilled blood, which was absolutely stunning. As you just sort of like start walking down towards it, you're just in awe of it. And then we realised we were actually at the back of it. So then we walked around to the front and we were like, oh my god.
That's even nicer.
Yeah. So, and also what was nice with St Petersburg is that it didn't, obviously it was April, but it wasn't as busy as Moscow. I think Moscow still had quite a lot of, not necessarily tourists, but it was just still, it's a lot bigger, a lot busier. Like St Petersburg was kind of like the chilled version of Moscow. So it's quite nice that that's towards the end of the trip. So you've done Moscow, you've had all that, wow. At least St Petersburg kind of gives you a little bit of a calmer one, but it was absolutely stunning, the city, absolutely stunning.